Hello and welcome back to Does It Go Hard, a show where I review movies, video games, and more. Today I will be reviewing the latest entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. So Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness takes place right after the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, which if you know what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange completely the entire universe, and now all this other dumb shit is happening. You know, it's hard to explain sometimes the story of these multiversal kind of movies because it's really hard to explain these things without giving any spoilers. So the movie's directed by Sam Raimi, and for those who don't know who he is, he directed the original Tobey Maguire trilogy of Spider-Man movies. He also directed the trilogy of Evil Dead, which is also amazing. I absolutely love those films. He's also directed, a bunch of other stuff, and he's just all around a very talented and amazing director. He's definitely one of my favorite directors of all time, and when I heard that he was directing this, I was definitely very excited to see all of his directing style in a big MCU film. So definitely I had a lot of high hopes for that, but now that the film is finally out and that I finally watched it, what do I think of it overall? But I can put it very simple by saying that this movie has a lot of multiverses, definitely, and it's also filled with a lot of madness. This movie is absolutely insane. Okay, let me just get that out of the way. This movie's crazy. There is especially a point in this movie, maybe like halfway through, or maybe even earlier than halfway through, where the movie just kind of snaps and it just starts to go completely nuts, and that's kind of part of Sam Raimi's directing, which I love. One of the things that I definitely want to say beforehand is that the highlight of this movie is Sam Raimi. If you go into this movie expecting a lot of good Sam Raimi-ness, you'll get it. Definitely, and it's just as good as it's always been. My overall issue is that it's not always like that. The big problem I have with this film is that it feels like two creative visions fighting each other. Like, you can see how Sam Raimi's directing and vision is kind of fighting against the typical Marvel MCU thing that we're all kind of used to at this point, and it's kind of disappointing in a way, because I went into this movie expecting the entire film to be a Sam Raimi film. But the thing is that it's not entirely a Sam Raimi film. You do get a lot of Sam Raimi-ness in the film, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it's very much a 50-50, and even 50-50 is being nice, of 50% is Sam Raimi directing and his vision, and the other 50% is Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios kind of saying, no, do this instead. No, you have to do it like this. Don't do that. It has to be this way because it has to fit our MCU criteria. That is definitely my main and biggest complaint. It's the fact that it's not always a Sam Raimi film. And as somebody that loves Sam Raimi, I was just kind of disappointed of the fact that this movie only lets the movie be a Sam Raimi film when it feels like it. It's definitely getting tiring, and it's more clear to see the fact that these movies are fabricated in some way, and they just kind of let the director do certain things when they feel like, okay, you can now direct to what you feel like directing, It's kind of sad that Marvel Studios doesn't really give their directors full creative control. They give it to a few, but not all of them, and that's just kind of one of my big disappointments of like, shit, I kind of wish that movie was just a Sam Raimi film, which sprinkled things of the MCU and the typical Marvel shit, But it's not like that, unfortunately. The writing was also very questionable as well. I wouldn't say the writing was bad by any means, but it wasn't great either. It's definitely probably the sloppiest of all of the Marvel movies. Well, at least it's one of the most, how to put it lightly, it's probably one of the most ridiculous and most over-the-top Marvel scripts, because it's just insane the places this movie goes. And let me tell you, the writing here is so questionable at times that you end up wondering, wait a second, is so you're telling me that you're really doing this right now? Like, why is the motivation of this character so, not justifiable? It's a case of like 80% of the writing being absolutely insane and just incredibly bonkers, and the other 20% is just pretty good and like real good character dialogue and good character scenes where these superheroes are talking like humans and they are having conversations and emotions like humans. That's one of the reasons why I've always loved the MCU, is because they really do give you that human touch to these characters that sometimes in other, superhero properties you don't get. I've complained about this about the DC movies for the longest time, is the fact that they never let you appreciate these superheroes as people. That's the problem that I have with Man of Steel. Superman to me does not feel like a real person because they keep showing him as a god, as a Jesus-like metaphor, and as higher and mightier than any one of us. And that's not relatable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if any DC fan is... I know every DC fan at this point probably hates my guts and probably think I'm a Marvel bitch. Which, to a certain degree, maybe you're right. But I can say this wholeheartedly, that I am never hating on DC just for the sake of hating them. I want them to get better, but they just don't seem like they want to get better. I'm sorry. So the writing is definitely a mixed bag, and that's also kind of disappointing, especially because I expected a lot more from it. I guess that's my overall problem. I definitely hyped myself up more than I probably should have. I probably should have kept my expectations lower or just standard, because my expectations were definitely incredibly high. That definitely, by the end of the day, affected my overall, not enjoyment, but my overall viewing and opinion of the film. Which, again, let me just say it, I still like the movie, okay? I don't hate this movie, just to be clear. But there's just this thing in me of like, man, this could have been so much better than what it is, surface level. Because surface level, you can just see it as, well, it's just another Marvel movie with, really cool Sam Raimi shit from once in a while. But underneath, there's definitely more to it, and I can appreciate that. But the problem is that you don't always get to see the deeper side of this story or the deeper side of this film, because it's constantly focusing on giving you, the spectacle shit that you expect from a Marvel movie. Which, don't get me wrong, it works for its advantage here, at least in a Doctor Strange movie, and especially dealing with the multiverse and, going to all these different universes. Of course, absolutely, like, the spectacle is going to be great, and it's great here, but I just wish that we got more character building moments. The problem a lot of times with superhero movies is that once they get to the superhero shit, they completely forget about the characters. They completely forget about character development. Character development just completely dies once the superhero and the spectacle stuff starts to happen. And I'm not saying that it happens here, the entire movie, but it happens too much, and it definitely made me not connect to these characters as much as I wanted. Now let me talk about the characters first of all as well, because I know I'm probably talking a lot of shit right now, but I really like a lot of things about this movie. Again, the Sam Raimi stuff that it has is really amazing. It's it. It's the stuff that I love about him as a director, and it it's just amazing to see it in this scale. But again, with the characters, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange has proven time and time again that he's absolutely amazing as this character. I love him, and I love that this movie actually acknowledges the fact that he's kind of a dick, because that's always been my impression of this character ever since the first movie, is that he's kind of egotistical, he's kind of an asshole as well. So the fact that this movie fully acknowledges that he's kind of a prick by the end of the day is kind of cool. Or at least I like the fact that they acknowledge that Doctor Strange is not a perfect character, that he's definitely flawed. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, or the Scarlet Witch, she's also great, and Benedict Cumberbatch and her have some really good chemistry with each other. Like, I think it's very cool how they really make you care about Wanda. Now, I'll say this about Wanda. She is probably the character that at some point, like near the end, I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not really feeling too bad for you. Like, you get what you deserved for what you because I'll say this, Wanda, I'm not saying that she's done dirty, but she definitely feels a lot different from WandaVision. In WandaVision, you see her as this one character, definitely, and you can sympathize with her. Even though she does something horrendous, you can still sympathize with that character to a certain extent, definitely. She completely crosses the line to a point where I'm like, girl, I'm sorry, I can't be on your side now. Don't get me wrong, she's amazing. She is incredibly scary. I can say this as well about this movie. This is as much as of a Scarlet Witch movie as it is a Doctor Strange movie, and I really, really love that about the film. And here's the thing, even though I wasn't always fully on board with her motivations and her reasons to do the things that she does in the film, I definitely still liked the character. I still love the fact that they really made her an intimidating character here. I just think it was truly amazing. For the villain, I'm not gonna say who the villain is, because that would be kind of a spoiler, so I won't give any details about the villain. But I'll just say that it's really surprising, the villain. At least when I saw it, I was like, oh, I did not expect them doing this. I mean, at the back of the head, I kind of had an idea, oh, maybe they might go with this. But the fact that they actually went with it and went full on, like, through with this decision, I was like, that is amazing. And the fact that you're doing it so well, I love it. I love the fact that you're really making this villain incredibly terrifying. There's also a lot of scary, like, Sam Raimi things in this movie that definitely, if you bring, like, your little kids to watch this movie, they are going to be scared shitless. Like, there are some scenes in this movie. This is another compliment I'm gonna give this movie. This movie, and I know it's been said a lot, and I've seen it on Twitter all the time, and everybody likes to complain and say, well, this movie pushes the limits of PG-13 more than Doctor Strange. Okay, yeah, whatever, I don't care. This movie does push the limits of a PG-13 in a lot of places. This movie at times feels like a horror movie. Now, yes, it's not really, like, incredibly scary, but it is a bit frightening and a little bit eerie from time to time. And man, the violence, this movie has a big, like, kill count. Huge. There are characters in this movie that really, really get it rough. And when I saw that on the big screen, I was like, holy fucking shit, I can't believe you went there. Wong, or, you know, like, Benedict Wong as the character Wong. He's also great. Although I'll say this, he doesn't appear much in the movie. And one of the disappointing things about that too is that both him and Doctor Strange work off each other so well. Like, the chemistry between these two characters is truly amazing. And the fact that they're kind of separated for the most part in the movie was really disappointing, because I wanted the movie to, for the most part, be about the both of them, you know, Doctor Strange and Wong. But it's not that. But again, when Wong is on screen, I absolutely love it. I love his character. He's definitely one of my favorite side characters of the MCU. The newcomer, Xochitl Gomez, as the character of America Chavez. I think she actually was pretty good. I actually liked her a lot. Now, yes, I would say that she works more as a plot device in the movie, but I still liked her. I still loved her personality. I loved the fact that she's Mexican, that she's Hispanic. I've been waiting for the longest time for a Hispanic superhero in the MCU, and to finally have that is really cool. I absolutely love that. She also kind of represents the LGBTQ community, which is really cool. I feel like maybe like halfway through she kind of disappears. She only comes back near the end of the film, but I still liked her. She's definitely one of those characters that definitely feels like she has potential, like a lot of potential for the future. And I love her powers. Her powers is basically traveling through the multiverse, and she's like one of a kind. There's no other version of her in any other universe, so she's pretty much unique. And she has the power again to like travel through the multiverse, but she can't control it. This power only kind of bursts out when she gets really scared and frightened, or really emotionally and she reacts emotionally in a very strong way, you know. And I love the effect that it's kind of like a shattered star, you know, just in the middle of nowhere, you know. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, it's just like a shattered star that goes through multiple like universes, and I just love that. I love the effect, and I love the power itself. I thought it was really, really cool. And the fact that she actually is able to have good chemistry with Benedict Cumberbatch, that was also really cool. I thought they both also had very good chemistry. There's some other characters here that I wasn't really kind of on board with. Christine, she's back from the first Doctor Strange. For those who don't remember her character, she was kind of a girlfriend / maybe fiance in the first Doctor Strange movie. They separated, but they kind of settled their things down, and they became somewhat friends later on, and that's showcased in this movie. She gets married to some other dude. This clearly is affecting Stephen Strange a lot, because he still loves her. Although I'll say this, I don't really buy their chemistry too much. They don't really have that much of a good chemistry even in the first movie. They have a few moments, but for the most part, I really was just not buying it for the most part. And here, it's kind of like it still feels like a forced relationship. I like where they lead the relationship at the end of the movie. So that was definitely something that I respected and I really, really, really liked. Now, Mordo is another story. I actually liked what they did with Mordo here. The fact that he's just kind of an asshole, like a really, not egotistical, but kind of like envious asshole towards Doctor Strange. I love that. But it was really weird to see this character again after so long, but at the same time it was still cool. Jotel Ejiofor, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the actor is very good. I love him. The problem is that he is barely in the movie, and that was kind of disappointing, definitely, especially when they do showcase him quite a few times, or quite a lot in the trailer. So the fact that most of what you see in the trailer is what's in the movie in terms of Mordo. So that was kind of a bummer. But other than that, the performances are all good. Everybody does a good job. Again, there's standouts as like always, like, you know, Doctor Strange, Wanda, Wong. But the new characters are, or at least this new character is very cool. Let me say, there are cameos, and if you've watched the trailers or the TV spots, you know some of these. I'm not gonna spoil them just in case none of you have seen any of those trailers or any of the TV spots. But let me just say something. If you've kept up with this MCU, and if you've kept up with stuff like What If and WandaVision, believe me. And overall, if you're just a pure big Marvel fan, this movie with its cameos, I mean, they really, really give you a gift with these cameos. And I wasn't too surprised with a few of them, of course, because I saw the trailers and some TV spots. But there was one cameo that I was like, holy fucking shit, that's amazing. It's something that I wanted to actually happen in the MCU. Please, please, please let this be happening in the MCU. I beg you. But I'm not gonna say it. Shh. You just go watch the movie. Go watch the movie, so you can find out what it is. But overall, my opinion of the movie is pretty much mixed. It was hard for me to rate this at first because when I first came out of the movie, I really loved it. But mainly it's because I was watching it on the big screen and I was excited. And even though I noticed a few flaws here and there, I was like, man, this is still amazing in my mind when I first came out of it. But then when I came home and started to think about it a little bit more, I was like, well, a few things are starting to make less sense if you really want to poke holes into this. And there are some character motivations that, again, are really questionable. And there are some decisions here that I'm like, I don't know, man. This is not really working for me. Or at least by that point in my head, I was like, maybe that wasn't very well executed. I was really thinking hard of how to rate this. Because originally, when I came out of the movie, I was like, I'll give it a high goes raw. But then, after really thinking about it, I was like, you know what? It's good, but it definitely has flaws. So, I'm gonna give Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness a low goes raw. Now, that's still a good rating. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good rating. But as somebody that was very much excited for this, I was maybe not let down. I don't think that's the right word. But I expected more, and it definitely could have been better. So, yes, this is not a bad rating by no means. Just because it's a low goes raw does not mean it's bad. It's still really good. I still recommend you watch the movie, especially if you love the MCU. Go watch it. You know, just go watch it, just for the fun. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. What did you think about the movie? Did you love it, or did you hate it? Or are you just kind of in the middle on it? Leave it down in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts about the film. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me. I'll see you in the next video. But don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe share the video with some friends, with some family, with your dog. I don't know, but it would really help a lot. Please. But anyways, thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.